Hey guys, what's up? Tyler here. My 9th video. It's probably my last video from here. I'm moving up to my dorm up in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. So it's probably my last video from here, but I'll keep the videos coming more than likely. But I'm going to do a video today based on a lot of personal messages I got based on swim baits. A lot of people ask me about swim baits. Now, being from Wisconsin, I don't throw them a whole lot, but I know quite a bit about them. I wouldn't say quite a bit, but I know enough about swim baits so I could try and help. I fish more smaller swim baits because the fish just aren't as big up here. So, but I got enough of them. I can show you kind of how my knowledge and kind of how to throw them. So I'm gonna start off with these hard swim baits. Well, first of all, before I start, actually, I'm gonna tell you where. Deep, clear lakes are great. Clear water is like one of the keys to the swim baits. It's a natural type of presentation. You're gonna want the most clear water when nothing else is working. Swim baits are a good option for clearer water. For the most part, it's a big bite type of thing because you're fishing with larger lures. Bigger lures, you're going to elicit bigger strikes and not a whole lot of them. But, if you fish it right and you fish the right way and at the right time, you can get a lot of them. Especially if you fish with smaller ones, you're going to get those littler ones on like a small, like true tungsten one, like this bluegill one, or like a 4.5-inch Shadowlicious. You're going to get a lot of fish with those. However, the bigger you go, the less bites you're going to get, the bigger you go, but the bigger bites you're going to get. So that's just a little rule. Now, where to fish it, always on the windy side of the lake. This is going to stack the bass up over there. It's going to put a little bit of chop in the water, so, breaks up the water a little bit. It's going to pull the bait into there, and the bass are going to be a little bit more aggressive over on that side. So always fish the windy side of the lake and fish large grass flats. Now, grass flats are the key. Look for little pockets, little pockets of open where there's no grass, or where there's pockets of like a tree or something like that. They'll hang on those little irregularities in the grass. So I'm going to start off with hard swim baits. You're going to want a 7 to 7.5 foot rod. I actually use a 6.6, but I'm a little bit smaller, so I use the 6.6 model, but it's just feel for the most part, medium heavy, and with a faster tip. Now, in the morning, I actually like using my crankbait rod, my shallow crankbait rod. So it's my 7-to-1 gear ratio with 12-pound line. I like to burn it in the morning. Now, this is a great one. This wake shad on the top of the water, it just kicks right on the top of the water, causes a huge wake over the grass flats and the isolated trees and stuff like that. So early in the morning, you want to burn the swim bait back, and you don't want to twitch it too much. You just want to burn it. Now, these hard swim baits are manufactured perfect so that they just run perfect every time. Now, as the day progresses, like towards the middle of the day when the sun comes out a little bit more, it's a lot brighter sun. The more sun and the more clear the water is, the more you want to twitch it and make it look a little bit more natural, like diving and darting and stuff like that. So now when the sun comes out in the middle of the day, I want to slow down my retrieve. I'll actually go to a 5-to-1 gear ratio reel to slow it down a little bit, and 20-pound monofilament line so that it keeps it up in the water column a little bit. Now, this little true tungsten bluegill type of thing is great for extremely clear water because it looks extremely natural, and just slow rolling it, and every once in a while stop the retrieve and dart it and pull it back and dart it a little bit. So that's a great technique, looking for those isolated trees. Isolated trees are huge when you're looking for swim baits, when you're fishing swim baits. Now, there's the next type of swim bait is the unrigged plastic swim baits like this striking Shadowlicious. I also got the bigger size Shadowlicious in my box too. So you fish these also, same exact type of thing. Morning, you want to work them fast with that 12-pound line and 7-to-1 gear ratio reel. Middle of the day, you're going to want to slow it down. You're not going to want to dart and dive with these a little bit because they'll run a little funny, so you just want to kind of reel it slow and kill it. So just let it die, and then reel it back up to that same depth, and just reel it steady. In the morning, they'll burn it, but that's pretty much what you do for those. Now, you're going to want to fish it on like a 7/0 screw lock hook with a little weight right here, or just a regular darter type of jig head. A lot of people don't throw it like this, but I've actually found good faith in that. Now, same exact places, large grass flats. Now, I've actually found this to be, it's pretty versatile. You can throw it in different ways, but I've actually found it to be a really sleeper smallmouth technique on deep, clear lakes. They seem to really like it. You can fish at a whole bunch of different depth levels, and I always fish it on this jig head when I'm fishing for smallmouth because they don't always get the whole bait, and you want the exposed hook on these smallmouth. Now, the way you work it is a bunch of different ways depending on how the fish are acting. Now, if they're suspended, I'm going to try and find that depth where they're at and just steadily retrieve it right through them. If they're on the bottom, work it like a jig. Let it fall to the bottom and rip it off the bottom. This also works for rivers too that are clear. And then if they're in the morning, always burn it. I always burn it in the morning until they tell me that they stop hitting it on the when I'm burning it. Now, so it's extremely good smallmouth technique. I've even caught them on this up north, but I wouldn't really suggest it. This is a huge swim bait. A lot of smallmouth just can't grab it. But this one, really good sleeper smallmouth technique. Also, this is a great swim jig trailer if you're after big fish through the lily pads. This is a great swim jig thing through the lily pads. Now, just a quarter round swim jig, a white swim jig or something like that. Just burn it through the lily pads where you would work a spinner bait. This shines actually. So, a little tip on that. I think that's pretty much it for that. And I also have these last ones are the pre-rigged swim baits, like this Optimum. This is one version of the pre-rigged swim baits. This is like a line through with the treble hook right here. Caught a ton of big bass on this one. Now you work this one always with a really slow retrieve, heavy monofilament line, keeping it right above the fish and looking for those irregularities in the grass. People find those magic trees on the trail and they just can hammer them all week, like Jason Williams did this year, and I believe Steve Kennedy did a couple years back on Clear Lake in California. Now, I've caught them on this just like actually in the bed fish when I'm bed fishing, and also just clearer lakes. Even in Wisconsin, this size is decent size. I'll downsize to this size if it's there's not as many big fish in the lake. I mean, it's pretty much the same size, but all depending on the size of the fish. But this type of technique, you don't get a whole lot of strikes off of, but the strikes you do get will be bigger strikes. The last kind of pre-rigged, this is the last one I'm going to go over, is these big lead-headed ones. And this is a Berkeley saltwater mullet. This is a 4-inch model. This is a bunker color, I believe. Now, Bobby Lane actually won on Kentucky Lake while throwing this. You fish this. This is where I fish this. Is a lot of times when I'm fishing like a Texas rig worm. Doesn't have to necessarily be on the grass flats. Actually, you don't want to fish this on the grass flats just because this exposed hook will hang up a lot. Fish it on rocky points, shell beds, anything where you'd fish a big Texas rig worm. He was actually just throwing it, alternating it, and he would just pick up a couple on this, stop fishing, pick up a couple on a big Texas rig worm. You fish it just like you would a worm, kind of just dragging it, popping it up a little bit, and then you set the hook just like you would if you're fishing with a big Texas rig worm. You can fish this up to 20 feet of water. You could also fish this where you fish a football head jig and stuff like that. So now you can fish this bigger one. I don't fish this too often. I fished it a couple times this year. I caught one on it, one of my pre-fishing, but I don't really fish it too much. But in 30 to 40 feet of water on a big sunken road bed is a perfect location for this. Lake Fork that has a lot of sunken road beds and a lot of sunken bridges in 30 to 40 feet of water this is a perfect one. And also it's that huge profile. You get those bigger bass that are down south like that. Now there's a few ways you can burn this one. Also this applies to this one as well. You can fish this in those deeper areas. Cast it out. You just crawl it on the bottom. Just slow roll it on the bottom. Always taking the bottom and use braided line, 50-pound braided line with a 7.5 foot medium heavy rod. Pretty much applies for the same rod for all types. Now, just drag it along and just list those hunger strikes. I don't like to fish that way, so how I fish it is actually letting it sit the bottom and just ripping it off the bottom and just burning it like 4 or 5, maybe 10 cranks, and then stopping it and letting it die. This will rip through those fish and it'll die. Great for schooling bass. You'll catch not a whole lot, but you'll catch big ones doing it this way. So that's my 2 cents on my video on swim baits. Hopefully it helped a little bit. I don't know a ton. I don't fish it too much, but hopefully I helped a little bit. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace out.